So welcome to the latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be going over the AQA GCSE Maths paper of November 2023, Foundation Paper 3, which is a calculator paper. Now before we get started working through this paper, a little reminder that I'll include a link and the question breakdown in the description below, so you can see that if there's any questions that you're not sure about, you can see what topic it relates to and therefore go back and revise that particular topic. And also include a link to the 162 Maths contents page, which gives you easy access to all the other exam paper walkthroughs, audits, topic tests and lessons that go over all the topics in greater detail. So let's get started on question 1. So question 1 says work out 10% of 170. So for this, all we need to do is basically divide this number by 10. So here we've got 170 divided by 10, which gives us the answer of 17. Then for question 2, it says write down the value of the digit 7 in 34,728. Well, I kind of given the answer away. So here we've got 7. And that represents 100, so the answer then is 700. Moving on to question 3a, it says write down the name of a triangle with 3 equal sides. And again, this one is going to be an equilateral triangle. Then moving on to question 3b, it says write down the name of the straight line that's inside the circle, and this is going to be a chord. Then for question 4, it says write down all the factors of 45. So the easiest way of doing this is to think of two numbers that multiply, two integers I should say, that multiply together to give you 45. So that's going to be 3 and 15 and 9 and 5. So then the answer is going to be each of these 6 numbers. And again, ideally you would write them in order, but if you weren't, as long as you've not missed out any numbers like I have there, you would be fine to get the full marks. Moving on to question 5a, it says d equals g squared minus 2h. Work out the value of d when g equals 15 and h equals 63. So for this, we're working out d, and all we're doing is replacing g with 15 and h with 63. So this is going to be 15 squared minus 2 lots of 63. And again, you can either type that all into your calculator, because remember this is a calculator paper. So if I just get my calculator up, and it should be loading there. And again, all I'm going to do is type this in. Now typically you could have the 2 times 63 in brackets, and that's entirely up to you. But with BidMaths, you should be okay just simply typing it in. That gives us an answer of 99. It then says for 5b, rearrange m equals n plus k to make n the subject. So here we want to make n equals, so we want n by itself. So what I need to do is get rid of the k, and I do that by taking away k. So that's going to be n equals m minus k. And there we go. Moving on to question 6, it says that here is a right angle triangle on a centimetre grid. Write down the coordinate of the midpoint of the longest side. Well, the longest side is this side here, and the midpoint of that, as you can see, is going to be this point here. So just need to write down the coordinate of that point, and that's going to be 5 across and 3 up. So just need to write 5, 3. Then for question 6b, it says work out the area of the triangle. Well, that's just going to be base times height divided by 2. So the base of this triangle is going up from 1 to 5, so that's got 4 squares up. And the base of that triangle is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's going to be 8 times 4 divided by 2. So that's going to be 32 divided by 2, which gives me an answer of 16. Moving on to question 7, it says the total cost of broadband for 5 months is £99.20. At the same monthly rate, work out the total cost of the broadband for 2 years. So for this, what we need to do first is work out the first 1 month cost, and that's going to be 99.20 divided by 5. And if I type that into my calculator, let's just quickly see what we get. So 99.2 divided by 5 gives me an answer of £19.84 per month. Now in 2 years, that's going to be 24 months. So 2 years. I don't know what I'm trying to write there, so bear with me. So 2 years equals 24 months. So it's going to be 24 multiplied by 19.84, which gives me an answer of £476.16. Moving on to question 8, it says here is a cuboid, and it says work out the volume of the cuboid, give your answer to 1 decimal place. So to work out the volume, all I need to do is multiply the length by the width by the depth, so 3.8 multiplied by 6.75 multiplied by 2.7, and again doing that all on the calculator. And on the calculator I get an answer of 69.255. Now the question does specify to give my answer to 1 decimal place, so I just need to round this number up to 1 decimal place, which gives me an answer of 69.3. Moving on to question 9, it says Nikki asked 30 people to name their favourite crisp flavour. Here are the results. And it says Nikki drew this pictogram to represent the results, and it says what are the 2 mistakes that Nikki has made. Well, let's have a look at what we've got here. Well, the first thing I can spot straight away is that with the pictogram there's no key, and so that's going to be one mistake. And then the next mistake, let's just make sure that we've got the right heading. So salt and vinegar, ready salted, cheese and onion, prawn cocktail, that seems correct. So let's just have a look at what we've got. So if we just assume that 1/4 of a circle represents 1, so that's going to be 16, that's going to be 7, this is going to be 5, and prawn cocktail is going to be 4. And I can see straight away that another mistake that Nikki has made is the fact that prawn cocktail is wrong. So prawn cocktail should have half a circle or 2 sections, not a full circle or 4 sections. So something along those lines would be absolutely fine. Moving on to question 10, and let me just zoom in because I feel like, of course it's going to reset, so let's just go back to the question we were doing. So question 10 says Sanjit buys 1.75 kilograms of potatoes and 3 kilograms of leeks. The total cost is £9.03. The potatoes cost 84 pence per kilo. Work out the cost per kilogram of the leeks. So for this, let's first of all write this expression using algebra, and we'll also include this one here. So 1.75 of potatoes plus 4 kilograms of leeks equals £9.03. Now we know that P equals 0.84. So if I substitute that in, so 1.75 multiplied by 0.84 plus 4L, don't know why I wrote 2L, equals £9.03. And if I work this out on the calculator, so 1.75 multiplied by 0.84, and that comes up to a cost of £1.47. So 4L equals 9.03. Take the 1.47 over to the other side, and that will give me the cost of 4 kilograms of leeks. So 9.03 minus 1.47 equals £7.56. Then all that's left me to then do is divide that by 4, in which what I should have is the answer of £1.89. Moving on to question 11, it says simplify fully 2x plus 9y plus 1 plus 8x plus minus 5y minus 7. So for this, what we need to do is we can see we've got 3 different sets of terms. So I've got x's, I've got y's, and I've got constants. So if I first deal with the x's, I've got 2x plus 8x, which is 10x. I've got 9y minus 5y, which is positive 4y. And I've got 1 minus 7, which is minus 6. Moving on to 11b, it says circle the expression that is equivalent to half a squared. So a half of a squared is going to be our third one. So it's basically a squared divided by 2. So it's going to be our third option that we need to circle. Moving on to question 12, it says here are the subjects available for year 12 students at a school. Students choose 3 subjects. They cannot choose more than 1 subject from a block. Leon decides to study maths but not study geography, chemistry, physics or ICT. Good choice. By listing, show that there are 7 groups of 3 subjects that Leon can do. So let's have a look at what we've got. So he wants to study maths, so we know we've definitely got an M. And let's get rid of the geography, and let's get rid of the physics, and let's get rid of ICT and chemistry. So to make sure that we've got all the others. So the other possible letters we've got are E, we've got Spanish, we've got history, we've got biology, we've got French, and we've got art. So from this, what we then need to do is just label the 2. So we definitely do maths, so I can get rid of history and French. So I can get rid of that. So by eliminating, what we can see then do is do this. So we're definitely going to be doing maths. We are definitely going to be doing drama. And again, you could either get away with writing the subject or just the first letter. And we're definitely going to be doing English. Well, not definitely going to be doing English. So that's one combination of picking block 1, block 2, block 3. Then we've got a combination of maths. And then we're either going to do drama. And then it's going through the 3 options. So we've got Spanish. We've got biology. And we've got art. And then from block 3 we could then choose, so we could then have English and then the 3 different options of Spanish, biology and art. Now again, you could write these options in any particular order, but they need to be different and you'll need one of each. Like I said, if you want to just write the letter, then that would be absolutely fine as well. Now, moving on to question 13, it says there are 1,400 students at a college. A student is chosen at random. The probability that students taking GCSE reset is 0.09. How many students are taking the GCSE reset? So for this, what we need to do is we need to do 1,400 multiplied by 0.09. And if I type that straight into my calculator, I get an answer of 126. For question 13b, it says the probability that student is studying A-levels is 0.67, core maths is 0.48. Show that some students are studying A-levels and core maths. Well, the reason that we know that there are some students studying both is because 0.67 plus 0.48 is equal to 1.15. So as this is over 1, there must be students studying both. Moving on to question 14, it says Des delivers takeaways to houses A, B and C. The scale of 1 centimetre represents 3 miles, and Des drives from T to A and back, and T to B, then B to C, then C to T. Des is paid 40 pence for each mile he drives and £1.35 for each house he delivers to. And the question is asking us how much is Des paid for the total for his work. So let's have a look at the information that's been given to us. So here, looking at this bit here, we're making one house. So we've got one house and the total distance is going to be going from T to A and back. So that's going to be 0.6 times 2, which is 1.2. I'm just going to put a little circle around that. Then moving on to the next bit of information that we've got here. So as you can see, we're making 3 house stops. So we've got 3 houses. No, sorry, 2 houses we've got, I should say. So 2 houses, and then the total distance in centimetres is going to be from T to B, which is 1.3, plus B to C, which is 0.8, and then C to T, which is 1.7. So if I add all of those up, let's just have a look at what we get. So I'm going to get 1.3 plus 0.8 plus 1.7. That gives me a total distance of 3.8. So here the house stops equals 3. So that's going to be 3 lots of £1.35. And that comes up to a total of £4.05. And then the total distance is going to be, let me just get rid of that. So the total distance is 1.2 plus 3.8, which is 5 centimetres, which equals 15 miles. And then if we multiply that by 0.4, then that's going to give us an answer of 15 times 0.4 gives us 6. And so adding up these two amounts, we get a total of £10 and 5 pence. Moving on to question 15, it says here are 2 number machines and we've got input of 30 divided by 6 plus 18, and the question is asking us that the inputs are the same, work out the value of A. So here we've got 30 divided by 6, which is 5, plus 18, which gives us an answer of 23. So that means that this has got to add up to 23. So then if I substitute that in, so we've got 30 times 3 minus A equals 23. Now this is going to give me an answer of 90. So I've got 90 minus A equals 23. So then if I take the A over to the other side, 23 over to the other side, I've got 90 minus 23 equals A. And if I type that into my calculator, I get an answer of 67. Moving on to question 16, it says which is closer to the value of 2.5? You must show your working. So let's have a look. So 3/4 is 0.75. So then if I then do 2.5 minus 0.75, then that gives me a distance of, and that's going to be 1.75. So 1.75 away. Then if I then do 4 1/5, 4 1/5 is 4.2. And again, if you're not sure, I could just type that into my calculator. So press shift and then that, and then 4 1/5, press equals, press the SD button, and it gives me 4.2. So I've got 4.2, so 4.2 minus 2.5, and that's going to give me an answer of 1.7. And the question's asking which is closer. Well, it's going to be 4 1/5. Now moving on to question 17, it says a computer game has 5 levels. Each level has a maximum number of points. These maximum numbers form an arithmetic progression. The table shows the numbers of the first 3 levels, and it says your score is the total number of points you achieve in each of the 5 levels. Isaac's best score is 1,250 points less than the highest possible score. And the question is asking us to work out his best score. So let's have a look, and let's just zoom in a little bit. So what we need to do first, now arithmetic progression basically means that it's either going up or down by the same number. So going up or down by the same number. So what we need to do first is we need to find out what that number is. So here the difference between 750 and 400 is plus 350. Difference between 750 and 1100 is plus 350. So then to work out the level 4 score, it's going to be 1100 plus 350, which is going to be 1450, and then add another 350 and we get 1800. So then what we could then do is work out the maximum score. So the highest score is going to be 400 plus 750. Oh, what's happened there? Plus 750 plus 1100 plus 1450 plus 1800. And if we add up all of those scores together, so let's just quickly do that on the calculator. I get an answer of 5,500. So then we can then work out what Isaac's score is, which is going to be 5500 minus 1250. And if I type that into my calculator, I get an answer of 4250. So moving on to question 18, it says a walking group has 210 members. One week the group organised a walk on a Wednesday and a walk on a Saturday. The frequency tree shows how many members went on the walks. And the question is asking us to represent the information in a Venn diagram. Now in terms of the template for the Venn diagram, which is given to us, and let me just draw it again so we can have got the frequency tree and the Venn diagram all on the same screen. So we've got something that looks like this. Now whenever you're completing a Venn diagram, you always want to focus on the middle bit first. Always try and complete that bit. Now the middle bit is Wednesday yes and Saturday yes. So that's going to be an answer of 53. Now in terms of the Wednesday, or the Wednesday total is going to be equal to 78. So this bit here, if I just highlight that bit there, is going to be, and let me just finish writing this off, is 78. So this bit here is going to be 78 minus 53, which gives me an answer of 25. Now from that, what we can then do is we can then work out the Saturday total, which is 53 plus 68. And if I quickly just total that up, that gives me 121. So then this bit here is going to be 121 minus 53, which gives me an answer of 68. And then finally, all that's left for me to then do is work out the bit that I've got left. And this number here, it's going to be 210, which is the total, minus the numbers that we can see in the Venn diagram. So if I take away all of those, I get an answer of 64. So the answers you want in your Venn diagram are 25, 53, 68, and 64. Moving on to question 19, so let's just zoom in so we can see it a bit clearer on the screen. So it says the length of a line is 8 centimetres to the nearest centimetre, complete the error interval. So for error intervals, what we need to do is look at the rounding and we divide that by 2. So 1 divided by 2 is 0.5, and then we're going to add and subtract that from the original amount. So here it's going to be 8 minus 0.5, which is 7.5. And 8 plus 0.5, which is 8.5. And there we go. So moving on to question 20, it says which of these is an estimate, and tick one box. And the four options are the lowest value in ungrouped data. Well, the fact that it's ungrouped means that it's not going to be an estimate in that sense. The range of ungrouped data, well again, if it's ungrouped, the range will be the biggest value, take away the smallest. The mode or class of a group data, again, that's fact as well. So the only one that is left that is an estimate is the mean of group data. Moving on to question 21, it says Carly's total annual pay is equal to the salary plus the bonus. Work out the percentage change of her total annual pay. State whether it's an increase or a decrease. Now percentage change, the formula for this is the difference divided by the original multiplied by 100. So first things first, what we need to do is work out the original salary, which is 26,000 plus 4,000, which is 30,000. Then, and let's just put a little box around that. So the new salary, well, for this I need to work it out in sections. So in terms of the salary, that's now going to be 2,600 times 1.06. So we're going to work out what 6% is, then add it on. So you could either do that separately, or you could use decimal multipliers, and which we get an answer of 27560. And then the bonus is going to be 4,000. Now a 9% decrease, well, if we're always starting with 100%, take away 9%, that's 91%. That as a decimal is 0.91. So if I then do 4,000 multiplied by 0.91, gives me an answer of 3640. So again, if you did it separately, you should still get those amounts. So then the new salary is going to be these two numbers added together. So here we've got 27560 plus 3640, which comes up to 31,200. So then using this formula to work out the percentage change, it's going to be the difference, which is 1,200. So it's going to be 1200 divided by the original salary, which was 30,000, multiplied by 100. And so if we do that, 1200 divided by 30,000, it comes up, and we multiply that by 100, it comes up as 4%. And as you can see, the salary has increased, so we need to write a 4% increase. Moving on to question 22, it says the first two cube numbers are 1 and 8. Show that the third cube number can be written as a sum of 3 different prime numbers. So here the third cube number is 3 cubed, which is 27. And what we need to do is write down prime numbers. So we've got 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23. And that's it. So we want to pick 3 of these numbers that add together to give us 27, in which there are a number of possible combinations you can have. So you could either have 3, 5, 19. You could also have 3, 7 and 17, or 3, 11 and 13. So any of those combinations would be fine to get the full 3 marks. Moving on to question 23, it says use trigonometry to work out the size of angle W. So the first thing we need to do here is label our triangle. So I've got A and H. So here I'm going to be using and picking the trig ratio, which is going to be cos. So I've got cos theta equals A over H. Substituting the values in, I've got cos W equals 6.7 over 8.3. So then to work out W, I do the inverse cos of 6.7 divided by 8.3 and typing that into my calculator, I get an answer of 36.17393,416, and then it's just a case of rounding your answer. So again, if you wanted to, there's no indication about rounding your answer, so if your rounding is a bit sketchy, just copy the number off your calculator. I'm going to round this up to 36.2, and that's to 1 decimal place. Moving on to question 24, it says 2 bags contain only green discs and yellow discs. Bag A contains 1 green disc and 4 yellow discs. Bag B contains 3 green discs and 7 yellow discs. 1 disc is picked at random, and question 24a asks us to complete the tree diagram with the correct probabilities. So let's just zoom out so I can see it all on the screen. There we go. So looking at bag A, what we've got to do is we need to work out the total number of discs. So here we've got a total of 5 discs, and for bag B we've got a total of 10 discs. So looking at this, for bag A, the probability of it being green is going to be 1 over 5, and probability of being yellow is 4 over 5. Then for bag B, for green discs it's going to be 3 over 10, and then for yellow discs it's going to be 7 over 10. Then moving on to question 24b, it says work out the probability that both discs are green. Well, for and, it basically means we multiply, so it's going to be 1/5 multiplied by 3/10, which gives us an answer of 3 over 50. And again, if you wanted to give it as a decimal, 3 divided by 50 is 0.06. So any of those two answers would be absolutely fine. Then moving on to question 25, it says solve these simultaneous equations. And so we've got 7x plus 2y equals 100 and 3x plus 2y equals 48. Now, as you can see, our y's are the same, so we don't need to multiply any of the equations by a number. And we notice that the y's are the same sign, so what we need to do is we need to take away the two equations. So here, 7x take away 3x is 4x, the y's cancel out, and 100 minus 48 gives me an answer of 52. So then to work out x, that's going to be 52 divided by 4, which again, using the calculator, gives me an answer of 13. And now once we've found the value of x, we just need to pick one of the equations. So let's go for using 3x plus 2y equals 48. I know that this is, well, x is equal to 13, so this is going to be 3 times 13, which is 39, plus 2y equals 48. So then if I take away 39, I'm left with 2y equals, and that's going to be 9. So y equals 4.5. So my two values are x equals 13 and y equals 4.5. Then moving on to question 26, it says that an opened cardboard cylinder has a radius of 1.9 centimeters and a height of 10.2. It says Harry assumes that the net of the cylinder is a rectangle with a length of L. And it says work out the area of the rectangle. Now, L is basically the circumference of the circle. So if you remember that the circumference is equal to 2 pi r, or pi times d. So then if the diameter is, or if the radius I should say is 1.9, then the diameter is going to be 3.8. So then the circumference is going to be 2 times pi times 1.9, or 3.8 times pi, and it doesn't really matter which one you go for. So let's go type that into my calculator, and I get an answer of that c equals 11.93805,208. So then using that value I can then work out the area. So the area is going to equal 11.93, and whatever you've rounded it up to, multiplied by 10.2. And typing that into my calculator, so 11.93 I'm going to use multiplied by 10.2 gives me an answer of roughly around 121.686. And again, your answer, depending on your rounding, might be slightly more, slightly less, and it all depends on your rounding. So I'm going to go for 121.7, and that's to 1 decimal place. Moving on to the next question, it says, in fact, the net is a parallelogram, not a rectangle. And it says, what does this mean about the area of the net? And it says, is less than the area of the rectangle, is equal to the length of the area of the rectangle, or is more than the area of the rectangle. Now, to work out the area of a parallelogram and the area of a rectangle, it's basically the same thing. It's the perpendicular height multiplied by the length. So the one that we need to tick is the fact that they are equal. It then says, what does this mean about the perimeter of the net? It says tick one of these boxes. So again, if we're looking at this, now when we've got diagonal lines, now if you think about Pythagoras, that the diagonal length is always longer. So if this is L and this is 10.2, then this length here is going to be longer. So that means that the perimeter is going to be bigger, And so what we need to tick then is our third box. Then moving on to question 27, which just so happens to be our last question. It says A, F, B, C, D, E and D, F are straight lines. B, C and D, E are parallel. P is 3 times R, and it says work out the size of angle P. So let's have a look at what we've got. So we know that this angle here is going to be 72. Why? Because it's opposite, which therefore means that this angle here is also going to be 72. So let me just write the reasons for it. So this is opposite, and this angle is 72. Why? Because it's corresponding. So in other words, it's like an F angle. So then to work out the angles of the triangle, now we know that we've been told that P is 3 times R. So I can scrap this and write 3R instead. So what do we know about angles in a triangle? Well, we know that they add up to 360. So 3R plus 1R plus 72 equals 180. So simplifying this, we get 4R plus 72 equals 180. So 4R is going to equal, if you take the 72 over to the other side, we get 108. And then R is going to equal 108 divided by 4. And again, typing that into my calculator, I get an answer of 27. In which we get an R value of 27. Now remember that the question asks us to work out the answer, the size of angle P. So angle P is going to be 3 lots of R, so it's 3 times 27, which equals 81 degrees. And there we go.